All right, today, welcome. This is part three of my LPS series, personal study and discussion on the whole idea of the biofilm, the extracellular matrix, and LPS has been conditions, of course, not of nutrition. Of course, my topic on my channel is on nutrition, but sometimes you have to stop and ask yourself, why isn't it my stomach? Why my stomach having to be acidic, having to be at a pH 1 to 2.5? Not functional or is not functioning as it should be in 2024 or maybe before that too. And why is it that studies are consistently being pushed out, supporting the idea that as you get age, as you get older in life, the acidity of your stomach actually declines, which is a risk for the digestion of amino acid of proteins to make amino acids, which is such a critical part of our lives, and also for the extraction of the essential trace minerals from our plants or whatever we are eating. Again, the basis of life says that acid is the extracting compounds for minerals, so acid extracting minerals that are available in plants when they are available. And don't fool ourselves, you know that a lot of plants do not have the minerals because of our glyphosate compounds that we have been experimenting with for the last X amount of years. Nevertheless, let's assume that we do have some plants, fruit, vegetables, we do have some meats that have lots and loads of nutrients. The principle is use acids to extract. I mean, of course, the principle, people would say, well, you could use fermentation to extract sprouting and those things, but when you look at it, it is really and truly an acidic process, an acid building process. Fermentation, whatever you're doing, it's really an acid building process. And when you look naturally into your stomach, you were designed, or we were all designed to have acidity in our stomach to do that job of extraction of the nutrients, which we call minerals and trace minerals. Now, we do know that the second function of the stomach is to digest or uncoil the protein so that it could activate pepsin and cut it up. We also know that B12, the intrinsic factor, which is also highlighted when you have good stomach acidity, seems to be a challenge as you get older also. So B12, poor digestion of protein, poor extraction of minerals, and of course the big one that is troubling a lot of us today, me specifically, which is what turned me on to this part of the topic, is the overload of things like H. pylori and other viral loads that are taking place in the gut. And then we ask ourselves the question, well, why? And then you try to separate out A, B, and Z, but the commonality or the foundational part here that holds these different parts together: poor sterility, poor nutritional breakdown to get your minerals, poor protein digestion, poor B12 uptake. You start realizing, hey, it's a root cause here. We are having poor stomach acidity, and then you ask yourself, what's causing that? So what would have pointed me to this topic here, and this is a summary of a three-part series, so you don't need to look at part 1 and part 2. This is the third part. So we look at things like the H. pylori, coli, salmonella, candida albicans. All these things are doing one thing when they get, when they are up, when they move up, because they are always there, but they are controlled by the same acidity levels in the stomach. But once they have enough sugars, lipoproteins, they create this first layer, which is the LPS layer, the biofilm or the extracellular matrix. They are all said to be different, but at the end of the day, they are using the similar materials to put it together, but they are just different levels, as you will see in this story. Now, this is what I picture LPS as: a bubble where you have antifungals, antibacterial, herbal, strong herbal things, which is basically herbal things are antifungal, antibacterials. But we like to separate those things, and we are trying to attack those guys inside this bubble. And this bubble is actually a strong ecosystem. It cannot be penetrated. This is like, those guys who talk about the dome of the earth. Those guys, may have a point that they are speaking about what the bacteria are doing inside our gut. So no matter what we throw at them, sometimes we catch those that came out to feed and we kill a few and we feel a little better. But most of the time, once they reach to the state of creating what is called a lipopolysaccharide biofilm, that is where the challenges comes in. We are hitting them with antifungal, we are hitting them with antibacterial, we are hitting them, and yet for all, we cannot hit them because they are well protected with this biofilm. Now I would have gone through in the past how these things were created, and that would have been by using polysaccharide, which you would find in the articles down here. They use polysaccharides, which is polysaccharides, multiple sugars, a little bit of proteins, and of course lipids. In some case, you see this nucleic acid here. So a little bit of fat, proteins, and polysaccharides in the stomach, and they do the enzymatic function and create those bubble, that beautiful bubble that you see there, to protect themselves. So that's the house. So today's broadcast is brought to you by the Three Little Pigs, and that story is very familiar. But of course, in my illustration, I'm switching around the story of the Three Little Pigs now to make it look as if you, as a human, is to be the big bad wolf, and the Three Little Pigs are the microbiomes. So, or the fungus and virus. These are the little pigs inside of you, creating a havoc in here. So these are the three little pigs inside here. So the first little pig inside its house here is what you're trying to get at. You are the big bad wolf this time. You need to get rid of LPS. You need to focus on what could I do to break LPS down, which is the house of straw, and so that the antibiotics, those things up here, the antibiotics should get to attack them, because the antibiotics, they would work, whether it's herbal, whether it's by a general practice, they would work only when they get to the microbe. Now in yesterday's video, I explained that we see in our research papers, we see in our practices, that we notice that doctors are saying, well, when you try the antifungals for H. pylori, it works the first time. If it comes back, it seems to be a diminishing return on the antibiotics effect, and then at the third time it seems like they are all resistant. It's not that they are resistant, they are building stronger and stronger globes, they are building stronger and stronger biofilm or LPS structures. Once they get attacked once, they know that they have to protect themselves. So what I have found from the research, that NAC, chitosan, zeolite, these are three examples of substances that we should try to admonish our GPs and our doctors to look into, in terms of complementing the treatments that we are given. Whether, like H. pylori treatment is quite standardized with an antifungal and proton pump inhibitor like omeprazole. We know that. But if we complement it with something like NAC by research has shown to be very, very creative in breaking down the structure of the house that protects them. So you see here, if you bring the wolf to blow down the straw house, he might blow it down, but if you could break down the straw house, then the wolf gets to the little piggy, and the little piggy is what you need to get to with your antibiotics and your antifungals. Now, that LPS biofilm is just a little bit, I call it the house of sticks, simply because you start realizing the stronger, the bigger you go into the story, the more in depth you go into the story, you start seeing that it takes more effort to break down the house of sticks, and to reveal those little critters. And that happens over time. Of course, the critters were there, they were getting more polysaccharides, more lipids, more little bit of time to do their work, and they are building stronger and stronger biofilm. What we see even with Candida albicans from the books, we see that the Candida albicans could, when they mutate from the hyphal phase to different phase or whatever it is, they create this extracellular matrix to really protect themselves. So the longer they stay, it's the more difficult and more effort we would have to use. But at the end of the day, you are trying to break down those things, whether it's a house of brick, a house of stick, or a house of straw. You have to put in the effort, speak to your doctor, and have a more strategized approach to deal with not just the fungus or the bacteria or whatever the organism is, but to deal with what's protecting them, which is the biofilm. And that's where our general practitioners may need to up the game and take some of these ideas into practice to bring about more effectiveness against this. Of course, in this whole thing here, we have to remember sugars feed, the glucose that we are eating from the carbs. They are the key fuel and the key attractive properties. So having more ketogenic kind of diet, very loose, non-sugary diet, away from this would help in also controlling their activity, because you don't want to be fighting out one, be feeding them at the same time. So you need to consider that in all light of things. What you see here in the summary of the article is the commonalities. The polysaccharides, the protein, and the lipids are what is used to make all. So at the end of the day, whether you call it LPS biofilm or the extracellular matrix, it's just the strength of the timing, as far as I'm concerned, allows them to build better, stronger structures. And that's LPS might be the first structure, means the house of straw. Biofilm might be the house of stick, a little stronger. And then EMC is when you have brick wall houses, which would be a very strong structure that needs some extra time, work, and persistence in ensuring that we break down these things while we are applying what the technologies of antifungal, antibacterial, so forth. I do have the images attached here, so if you're interested in downloading them, jump across to the website. Jump across to the website and you'll be able to download them as PDF. The website is AI Health Insights, link in the bottom there. And of course, if you are looking for some advice, I'm here to help in terms of recommending. I do use NAC, and I think I'll be using NAC for a pretty long time. Chitosan, I'm just researching it, but zeolite I thought they were the same when I was getting my zeolite powder, but now after doing deep in-depth research, I realized they are quite different. And chitosan is quite the one that I should have gotten. Zeolite is more of a very good charge-based binder, whereas chitosan actually hits the LPS and breaks it down. NAC hits the LPS and breaks it down. So to me, a combination of NAC and chitosan with the guidance of our practitioners or doctors would be very effective. The reason why you still want a good binder like zeolite, and some people use activated charcoal, but activated charcoal is so strong, it's a non-discriminatory binder. You have to be very cautious with activated charcoal, or else it drags out all the nutrients from you. It even pulls nutrients that you don't want to be pulled out. So you have to be careful with activated charcoal. Use cautiously. But zeolite is more one that knows to pull that which it has to pull. It helps. It exchanges by, I think, charges. So that one this year is a more binding to bring out when it breaks down. So when you break down the house of straw, you still need to get rid of the little straw pieces. That is sometimes what we miss in our protocols. And so what happens to us, we take things and we get more sick because these little pieces of straw end up going to the small intestine. They then get into the bloodstream and go up to the liver, causing the liver to do extra work to get rid of them. And that sometimes comes and clogs us back again in the gallbladder, and it creates more havoc for us. Sometimes if the liver is overworked, it goes into the bloodstream and we feel what we call a little bit sick. We get this Hoxheimer's reaction and stuff like that. So thank you for viewing, and hope you have a wonderful day. Please look into LPS on your own. If you would like to support me, all my information is at the link in the bottom of the web page.